Hey, Algebra 2 class, we're going to go for 8.4b samples in preparation for our 8.4b quiz today on March 24th. For sample 1, we're going to write the equation for the ellipse given particular information about the vertex and the covertex. What I have done, just to get myself oriented, I have gone ahead and drawn a quick sketch given the vertex and covertex that I have here. I've drawn a quick sketch of what it would look like as an ellipse, and I'm already noticing that the vertical axis is the longer axis, so it's the major axis. That means that I'm going to put my a squared underneath my y squared. Remember, we're always choosing the longer axis to pair with the axis it is on. So when I figure out my a squared, it's going to go underneath my y squared, and when I figure out my b squared, it's going to go underneath my x squared in this particular problem. So let's figure out what our a and our b is. A is 9, so a squared is 81. B is 5, so b squared is 25. So I have all the information I need to write my equation. My a squared is 81, and because the vertical axis is the major axis, that's going to pair with my y squared. So 81 will be where my a squared shows up. And underneath my x squared, I'm going to put my b squared, which is 25, and I'm done. Sample 2. I'm going to write the equation of the ellipse again given the vertex and covertex. I'm doing a quick sketch over here. Again, this is optional, but I think it can really help sort things out if you do a quick sketch to see what it would look like. This time we notice that the major axis is horizontal. That's the longer part of the ellipse. So this time our a squared is going to go underneath our x squared because we have a horizontal major axis. So we're going to figure out our a squared by taking our a number, which is 10 or negative 10. When you square it, it will become 100, whether or not you put 10 or negative 10 here. So it's your option. The other vertex, of course, would be 10, 0. So that's why I can immediately change this to 10 if I want. My covertex is 7. So when I square that, b squared is 49. So where do I put the a squared and b squared? Well, because my major axis is horizontal this time, the a squared will go underneath my x squared, and my b squared will go underneath my y squared. So the major axis will always pair with the variable that goes along with that axis. Sample 3, we're given information slightly different. Our idea will still be the same, though. This time we're given the vertex and the focus. We're not given the covertex, so we're going to have to figure out that covertex in order to write the equation of that ellipse. All right, so we are noticing that we're given information about what the major axis is. The vertex and the focus both are on the x-axis. That means that our major axis is horizontal, so our a squared will pair with our x squared when we get to the point where we're writing our equation. First job, we write down a is 12. Again, I changed the negative 12 to 12 because the other vertex would be 12, 0 over here. So it doesn't matter, though, if I put 12 or negative 12, because when I square 12 or negative 12, I'm still going to get 144. I'm told the focus number is 8, so my C is 8. Notice this is not your value that's going to show up even when you square it. This isn't going to show up in your equation. We know 8 is c squared is 64. But we do need to use that c squared is 64 to work out our b squared, and this is the equation that we use to figure out what that b squared is. It almost looks like the Pythagorean theorem, except we're subtracting the a squared and b squared instead of adding them. Plugging in our numbers, we know c squared is 64. We know a squared is 144. That comes from right up here. And then we're going to figure out what that b squared is. So we're going to subtract 144 on both sides and get negative 80 is equal to negative b squared. We're going to multiply or divide both sides by negative 1 to remove those negative signs, and 80 is b squared. I'm just switching the sides where b squared and 80 are. At this point, I have the information I need for my equation, but if I want, I can go ahead and take the square root. And on my calculator, it's going to round off to 9.0. It's not exactly 9. It's slightly smaller than 9, but it rounds off to 9. So I can go ahead and easily graph what's going on to make sure this all makes sense. Here's my major axis with the focus points on that major axis. Here is my minor axis with my b number. Okay, so now I'm ready to write the equation. I'm going to use my a squared and my b squared. I will not use my c squared in my equation. Underneath the x squared, I'm going to put my 144. That's my a squared. Remember, this is the major axis, so the a squared will go underneath the x squared. because x is the major axis. And underneath y squared, I put the minor axis b squared value, which is 80, and I'm done. And again, notice that my c squared does not show up in my equation. So we'll go ahead and box that up. I forgot to do that. There is my answer for my equation, all boxed up. And now you are ready to review this in preparation for today's quiz. All right, we'll see you next time.